to mine. The Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust and the Sousa Mendes Foundation for organizing this weekend-long tribute to Sousa Mendes. Today you had 2 screenings. Tonight we have the opening of this exhibition, and tomorrow we'll have the oratorium of a tribute to Sousa Mendes. So thank you very much for this extraordinary work that you've done to promote and to bring to life this extraordinary person. Last year I had the privilege to also partner with the Sousa Mendes Foundation and the American Jewish community in San Francisco and to organize something similar like this. And I'm open to, and I've already talked to Sebastian Mendes, and we're looking at gearing up to do something in the coming months in San Francisco. So I'm very energized to continue this effort of giving a refocus to this character. I'm of course particularly pleased that we do these celebrations in California because for the fact that you mentioned that he was a consul in the 20s in San Francisco, and he left a legacy and families here in the Bay Area and not only. And so, in my very brief remarks, I would like, if you allow me, just to touch upon 3 aspects that I think are, in my view, this is a very personal approach, that make him such an invaluable historical figure. And the first aspect is the context, and we all know the context, and we have to put ourselves into this extraordinary, difficult historical background that was the days of the summer of 1940, with thousands and thousands of refugees who were trying to flee France from north of Europe to south of Europe, and basically families that lost everything, lost all hope, and they were trying to get some sort of help. And it's against this extremely difficult historical background that the Portuguese consul in Bordeaux, Aristides de Sousa Mendes, took upon himself to save the lives of thousands of people by granting them a visa to Portugal. He took this difficult decision alone, without anyone's advice or backing. On the contrary, he took this decision against the opposition of his own government and the explicit instructions of his own government. He did not shy away or hesitate in the face of adversity. I dare to say that he crossed the Rubicon at that specific time, and he proved that men define themselves in those very critical moments. He obeyed to his own conscience and to his own moral imperatives. Sousa Mendes became from that day on another man, a great man, and I dare to say, an inspiration to us all. Grace under pressure. This is how the great American Nobel Prize of Literature, Ernest Hemingway, defined courage. I believe this applies perfectly to Aristides de Sousa Mendes. Grace under pressure. The second aspect that I would like to tell you about tonight is the fact that he acted in the name of human dignity, insofar that he believed that men should be treated with respect because they are humans, regardless of their race, color, sex, language, religion, political, national, ethnic, social, birth, or any other status. His approach was his way of saying that human dignity should not have to be earned. It's inherited to humans. And we all know that this later on, after the Second World War, became one of the cornerstones of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Again, Aristides de Sousa Mendes was ahead of his time, and very much he inspired us all after the war. Lastly, he acted in defiance of specific and clear instructions. And he knew it, and understood it, that he was doing this against his own benefit, knowing that he would be responsible for those consequences. And so this disobedience then brought him to the disarray that we all know. And he did it at whatever cost to himself, and he felt that this was a clear and imperative moral obligation. So these three elements, for me, are extremely important to define the character, and it gives us the relevance of this character as an historical figure. And just before I finish, I would like to just pay a special tribute to Sebastian Mendes, a grandson of Aristides de Sousa Mendes. He, not only me, as the consul who is in San Francisco, but above all he inherited and he cherishes this great legacy. I know he knows it in his heart, we all know it, and like we say in Portuguese, bem-aja. Thank you very much. Shalom. Thank you.
Now it is my privilege to invite to the podium Dr. Olivia Mattis. She is the President and Chief Operating Officer of the Sousa Mendes Foundation. She is an award-winning musicologist and author, and profoundly and significantly, and what leads her to this work from her heart, is the fact that 12 members of her paternal family were rescued by Aristides de Sousa Mendes as they escaped from Belgium in 1940. Meanwhile, her maternal grandparents founded and led the Jewish resistance there, while her mother was a hidden child. She carries on their legacy. She's a force of nature. She's detail-oriented and understands that God is in the details, and she has impressed all of us here, and we're delighted to welcome you.
Hi, everybody. So we have a number of anniversaries that we are marking with this event. So 2016 is the 50th anniversary of Aristides de Sousa Mendes having been recognized by the State of Israel, by Yad Vashem, as a righteous among the nations in 1966. So that's 50 years. This is the first event that we, the foundation, are holding in commemoration of that particular anniversary. It's also the 30th anniversary of the recognition of Sousa Mendes by his home country of Portugal, which began in 1986. And you'll see in the next room, there is a document from the President of the Republic, Mario Soares, from October of 1986, honoring Sousa Mendes with the Order of Liberty. That was the very first recognition after they had punished him and then suppressed the story for so many years. And the fact that they honored him in 1986 was a direct result of pressure from the United States, and particularly from some people who are in this room, who will be honored later in the program. But in particular, what led those lawmakers to act as they did was the joint efforts of first John and Joan Abranches, whose children are here, Paul and Peter Abranches, two of the grandchildren of Sousa Mendes, are here if you want to wave. So it was their parents, John, Paul Abranches, and Joan Abranches, who were so persistent, and there are a lot of documents next door from their family collection, in having Portugal honor their father. And they worked, in other words, Paul and Peter's parents worked in collaboration with Robert Jacobitz, who's here today, who was with the Jewish Community Relations Council in Oakland, California, and who recognized the importance of the story. And together they founded an organization called the International Committee to commemorate Dr. Aristides de Sousa Mendes, whose purpose was to get Portugal to recognize him. Now, that's not the only work that was done in pursuit of that goal, to have Portugal reverse their punishment and recognize him. Sebastian Mendes' father wrote a very important book in 1951 called Flight Through Hell. We have that on display. 1951, Salazar was still alive. Sousa Mendes was still alive. He died in 1954. And it's one of the very first accounts of the Bordeaux episode, the first book-length account anyway. Sousa Mendes himself read it and said, this is true, thing happened, just as they were written here. So there have been all these efforts, primarily by the family, but also with the support of others, to get the punishment of this man reversed. Now, why was he punished? It doesn't make any sense, right? Why would you be punished for doing a good deed? I really don't know the answer to that, but I do know that Sousa Mendes was a Portuguese patriot. You have in the next room a book that he wrote in 1932 when he was living in Antwerp, Belgium, called, it's written in French, Portugal, Country of Poetry and Dreams. It's a homage to Portugal. This was a patriot. Sousa Mendes was a Portuguese patriot. He did not betray his country when he defied orders. He was betrayed by his country. This is an important point to keep in mind. He wrote this book as a proud patriot. He never left Portugal after he was punished. He had opportunities to leave, and he didn't leave because he wanted to be recognized in his home country. And that's one of the anniversaries that we commemorate this year, 2016. So I want to give a number